If you are stuck trying to decide between having a destination wedding in Europe or a local wedding in your own hometown, this video is going to help you decide. I'm not going to try and convince you of anything in this video. I'm going to help you uncover the truth of what's actually right for you. But first, hello, I am Kay. I am a destination wedding planner helping untraditional travel-loving couples plan multi-day intimate destination weddings abroad on a budget. If that is you, hit that subscribe button to be notified every time I post another video to help you plan your destination wedding successfully. If you are currently stuck in the divide between having a destination wedding in Europe or doing something locally, you know it's not always a clear path forward or a clear-cut decision. It's a really difficult decision, and from my experience, I watch couples grapple with it for weeks and then months, and then they waste all this time and they go down all these rabbit holes only to find out they've been chasing the wrong dream the entire time. I don't want that to be you, so let's cut to the chase. I'm gonna give you the 5 questions that you need to ask yourself that are gonna make this clear as day whether or not you should be having a destination wedding in Europe. The first question sounds so obvious, but I'm telling you, so many people I talk to struggle for months before they actually ask themselves this. Is my family bought into this idea? Especially any decision-making family members. Before you do anything, you need to ask your family, whoever has decision-making power, if any of them outside of you two do, if they would actually be on board for something like this. Now you may be thinking, okay, my family doesn't have any say. That's awesome. But where I do see family members get say is when they're contributing financially. I always say money equals decision-making power. Money equals control, kinda. That's true in wedding planning and also in life. And so if anybody is contributing financially, they kind of do potentially have some skin in the game here, and we really should be asking them, hey, do I have your blessing to even go down this path? The biggest mistake I see couples make is assuming, oh yeah, no, I can get them on board, but I need to get all of this research. I need to figure out what it's gonna cost first. I need to choose a couple of different venues. They spend months gathering that data to slide it across the table to these decision-making relatives, and then it gets squashed in 2 minutes. And that's when the heartbreak sets in. So just skip to that hard conversation first before you spin your wheels trying to get all this data only for it to be a non-starter from the beginning. Now you don't need the full approval, but you need to know that they're at least willing to entertain the idea. Like, okay, yes, I like the direction, I'm skeptical. You go gather some information and then we can talk about it again. Now you're bringing them in on the process, ripping the Band-Aid off so they know this is the direction that you're thinking of from the very beginning. So it's not this big surprise when you're like, Italy? And they're like, absolutely not. That's really cute that you thought that. The second question that you need to ask yourself, are there any guests that would absolutely ruin my day if they couldn't go? They absolutely 110% have to be at my wedding, or I don't want to get married that day. Who are the guests that are your non-negotiables? And you guessed it, ask them if they would be able to attend. If someone is a deal breaker for you, you either need to confirm that they're gonna come or you need to get over them not coming. For the record, anybody can say, Europe 2 years from now? Sounds great, I'll be there. And then life happens. Financial situations change, jobs change, and you can't get time off of work. Family planning happens, they might have a child. Anything in their situation could change in that span of time. So even if they do say yes, you plan your entire wedding in Europe, they, at the last minute, could still say, I'm so sorry, I can't come. If me sharing that hard truth to you makes you feel a type of way, I need you to listen to yourself. A destination wedding might not be for you. You need to be happy with your decision regardless of the people that ultimately show up to be there. And I will say, for the record, you can have a local wedding and still, for medical emergencies, etc., knocking on all the wood, they might not be able to go even to your wedding 5 minutes down the road. But it is much harder to get to a wedding in Europe. I'm going to tell you a little story about how this happened one time to one of our couples, because I really want to drive home the point that someone could have every intention of going and still things beyond their control can happen. We had a couple who was getting married in Greece a few years ago, and their maid of honor was very excited. Obviously, she's the maid of honor, excited to come. At the last minute, she realized that she could not come because her passport wasn't updated. Passport updates is like, unfortunately, one of the most common reasons that we see very important people not be able to go. So if you do have a destination wedding, you're gonna file that away to tell everybody immediately to get their passports renewed. I have my couples put it as the announcement banner on their wedding website as soon as the dates go out so that that doesn't become you. But we spent the ceremony with the maid of honor on FaceTime watching the ceremony, and she's crying because she couldn't be there. And that was heartbreaking. So even people who have every intention of making it there, the logistics of travel complicate things and stuff happens, okay? But it's all about making sure that you're not gonna regret your decision. So if you're like, you know what, that would absolutely be heartbreaking, but this is about me and my partner being in a place that we've always wanted to be in, having this incredible adventure. We're not going to look back with regrets. That's a good sign that maybe a destination wedding is okay for you. The next question is, can I afford it? And are my expectations realistic for what I want to spend for a destination wedding in Europe? So let's talk about the money, honey. A lot of couples who are trying to decide ask me, well, which is less expensive? And I'm like, well, it depends on what you value, but my couples specifically are having multi-day, so typically 3-day experiences in a different country with an intimate number of guests, so around 50 or so guests. They value experiences over things, so beautiful venues with incredible views as that wow factor, rather than shoveling floral and rentals and lighting upgrades onto things. There may be some of that stuff, but they would rather put their money towards the venue, the entertainment, the food and beverage. That's just the couples that I work with. So for something like that, they're typically spending around $1,000 per person with the weddings that we produce with them. Really high quality experiences, not going too overboard with the things and stuff that we're adding, but it still looks really classy and timeless. If you compare that to a wedding in the United States or even Canada, you're gonna get a little bit of a different answer. Whereas you might see that $1,000 stretch across 3 days in Europe, that $1,000 per person might get you 6 hours at the wedding factory in town, or even more than $1,000 per person, especially if you're in a major metropolitan area, or just a wedding market in general that is a little inflated. New York, California. Just a couple of examples. Even Newport, near where I am from, some of these venues are $50,000 to walk in and breathe the air for 6 hours. You spend that $50,000 across 3 days for 50 people in Europe, and you get everything included in that price. These are just higher cost markets. You need to take a good look at where you are. If you're somewhere very rural, then maybe it's gonna be a little bit more budget friendly, but also you'll likely have less options. Maybe it's not the vision you're going for, and it's incredibly tempting to be able to get more for the same amount of money, if not less, across 3 days. Somewhere fabulous that everybody wants to be, rather than settling for 6 hours, more money in your local wedding factory. Caveats though, not all of Europe are gonna fall under that $1,000 per person threshold, especially some of those well-known higher cost markets like Lake Como. Even the Amalfi Coast is getting up there. But if you stay in markets that are more high value for dollar driven, and I will link up here a video of some of the cheapest wedding destinations across Europe, then you'll be able to still get married somewhere absolutely stunning for very much less than what it would have been to have the same 3-day experience for probably more people back home. And your budget can of course creep up from there no matter where you get married, depending on the things that you add, but think about that $1,000 per person threshold, see how it feels. If that feels like really achievable for you, green light, go on Europe, baby. If it feels a little tight for you, maybe a destination wedding isn't for you, or maybe you can reassess your guest count, bring that down so that we have a little bit more money to spend. Quick pause if you're finding this video helpful and you're having some major revelations right now, hit that like button to let me know. The next question, let's get woo-woo together. It's just my vibe lately, my whole life. The next question is, do I have a soul connection to this destination? What is the soul connection? It's the invisible string. It's the emotional tether to a location abroad that you have always loved traveling, or even you've never been before but have felt this constant connection and draw to. It doesn't need to make sense, and most of the time it doesn't make sense. It's this unexplainable urge to go to this location. Now, it could just be in general, I want to go abroad because you are a travel loving couple. I think of me and my husband when we were planning our wedding, the number one passion that we shared as a couple was travel. And we went to some really cool places, and we wanted to share that experience and how we feel when we're traveling with our guests during our wedding. That felt like very much like us. And so if you're a travel loving couple and you don't even have a specific location in mind, but you just feel that same urge to share something that's really personal to you and your partner with the rest of your family and friends, that could be a soul connection. Or it could be a specific soul connection tied to a location, a country, a city. For example, I had this couple a few years ago. They were so excited about the idea of having a destination wedding in this very little country called Malta. They had never been to Malta before, but the groom did a 4th grade project researching Malta, and ever since then he wanted to go there. So they hired me and we planned their wedding in Malta. None of us had ever been before. We just showed up and it was an incredible experience. And that was all because of a soul connection that started when he was 10. For my own wedding, personally, my soul connection was because I watched Mamma Mia as a child, and that scene of Sophie riding up the hill on the donkey with, the sun setting over the water and the twinkle lights. I was like, that is the vision, 100%. Where do I get that? Greece, obviously. Cliffside in Santorini. That's where we went. If you want to see more about my wedding in Greece and what I spent on it, I'll link the video there. But it didn't make sense. It was just something I was drawn to, and that was my soul connection, and we did it. So look within yourself, journal on it, talk about it over a glass of wine. Do either of you have a soul connection or a pull or any kind of thing, a little voice in the back of your head that's like, let's go to Spain? If you feel that pull, it's usually a sign that a destination wedding was always supposed to be part of your story. The next question is another very deep emotional question, not very logical, but I have asked this question to hundreds of couples who struggle with this decision, and every single time it brings clarity. So follow me along on this journey. You guys are going to do my 10-year question exercise. So each of you take a journal or even the notes app on your phone, and you're going to go in separate rooms and journal down your answer to this question. On your 10-year wedding anniversary, when you guys are having an anniversary dinner over candlelight and fabulous meal, and you're looking back and you're talking about how amazing your wedding day was, what do you each hope to remember most about that experience 10 years later? Write down your answers. Go deep as you can, and then come back and compare them together. Why do we ask this question, and why does it work? Well, we ask this question because I want to get to the perspective of you having memories of your wedding. When you are paying for your wedding, there's a reason why people pay a lot of money just for 1 day or 3 days. It's because you get to experience it for that one time, and then you have the memories to look back on and enjoy the rest of your life. And so we're memory makers here. We plan weddings once, and then you have those memories forever. So when you think about it of what do I want to remember most, it's really getting to the deep-rooted values and priorities. You take out the trends, whatever's popular, impressing your friends, whatever it is, all that superficial stuff, it does not show up in this exercise. You get back to what is the feeling and the memory I want to be left with about that day all of those years later. Now, the reason why it works, you get real honest with yourself, okay? And the truth will come out. For me, for example, my response when I did this exercise for my own wedding was I wanted to remember being outside, slightly buzzed, under string lights, dancing my face off to ABBA with all my friends and family, thousands of miles away from home, and have the same feeling that I have when I travel with my husband. And so that's what I did. And we prioritized an open bar. We prioritized a venue that could allow us to dance outside. We prioritized lighting for the string lights. We prioritized a DJ, and all of that happened. And I'm having chills about it right now, thinking about it, because it's 6.5 years later, and I'm pretty happy with those memories. For someone else though, it could be, gee, grandma's getting up there and I really want to remember dancing with her at my wedding. Maybe grandma can't travel. And so those are the types of things you really need to take a critical look at and say, okay, yeah, it's just not for me then. I can't do it. I can't have a destination wedding if she can't be there. You need to listen to yourself, because this is really going to bring the truth out. And it might not be what you want to hear at first, but you do have to follow your heart. So go separate, do the exercise, and then compare your answers, have a conversation about it. Once you do decide which direction you want to go, you're going to use that as your North Star. Whether you're having a local wedding with grandma back home or you're having a destination wedding with all of your favorite people abroad, use whatever you wanted to remember most as your North Star so you don't lose track or lose sight along your way during wedding planning. You don't get tempted by things that don't actually matter. You don't spend money on things that don't actually matter. I have a little bonus section for you guys, just some common objections that kind of still trip people up, even if you're very clearly leaning one direction or the other right now. People are always like, but Kay, is it selfish? I'm asking them to spend all their money, to take time off, to go all this way. Aren't I a terrible person if I do that? If you ask me, no, it's your wedding. They're adults. They're going to make decisions. You can invite people with no strings attached. If they come, that's amazing. And if they don't, that's also amazing. That's totally fine. If you get mad at them for not coming, that's an issue. But if you're like, no strings attached, guys, you come, that's awesome, but I understand it's a big ask. And if not, we are good. That is the best that you can do. Now, if you're into the back and forth of all of this, you can watch this video up here of the Am I the A-hole Reddit thread that we dissected a little while ago, and it really gets into that. So feel free to go drop comments under there about how you feel about the whole situation. But the TLDR, an invitation does not equal obligation. It is decision time. So what did you decide? Is your family in alignment with this decision, especially key decision makers? Are you okay with some non-negotiable guests potentially not being able to make it if you decide on a destination wedding for reasons out of everyone's control? Are you cool with the budget and what your expectations will look like abroad? Do you feel any kind of soul connection pulling you to have a wedding in Europe? And what do you want to remember most 10 years after your wedding? If most of these are pointing towards destination, you already have your answer. And if not, you have your answer too. There is no wrong answer here. I want you to choose what is right for you. But if after this you do feel 100% certain that you want to have a destination wedding in Europe and you have absolutely no idea how to approach that, you can inquire about working with me below. I will put the link to do so. We specialize in multi-day intimate destination weddings in Europe on a budget, so I will put the link to learn more if that is you. Are we having a destination wedding? Let me know in the comments. I would like to congratulate you on either decision. Don't forget to like this video, hit subscribe, and watch this video next.